So take a great posture. We'll begin every one of these with your best posture of the day. Open up your shoulders, wangle around a little bit, loosen it up like you're about to dance the intro to Footloose, and relax your posture, find your breath, and bowing with respect and friendliness to everybody in the whole world who ever listens to this and who doesn't ever listen to this. Give it away. So the bow is the notion of connecting the earth and the heaven above and your heart or human society in between. It's the kind of Eastern notion of heaven, earth, and human. Back in the patriarchal 80s and 90s, we called it heaven, earth, and man. So today I wanted to talk about how death is really awesome stuff in terms of environmentalism, in terms of life, in terms of ecosystems, in terms of, if you believe in God, how God created the planet and the universe. If you are more Thoreauian about God, just how life is set up. So if we didn't all die, there wouldn't be room for other generations. If hamburgers like McDonald's sprayed with preservatives last for 50 years, that may be a tip-off that you don't want to eat them, that they're not healthy, that they're not good for life, because somehow something has been done to them to take them out of the cycle of life, out of the cycle of being born, growing up, adolescence, maturing, getting old and wise and frail, and then dying. That's a natural cycle, including sickness. So without getting too like about it, it's important, if you're an environmentalist, to support the notion that sustainability does not mean forever, which reminds me of the saying in that movie, love means not having to say you're sorry, which has nothing to do with this discussion at all, but same rhythm, and I'm a writer. So sustainability is not forever. So you want to buy craftsmanship, ideally. You don't want to buy cheap plastic crap made in China like every college kid does, or IKEA, and then you throw it into your alley or you throw it into the dumpster at the end of the semester, and then you buy new shit. Excuse my French. That we are now in an adult discussion. And so you think you're saving money, but really you're just buying crap, you're living around crap, you're having a crappy daily experience of your environment, your immediate lived-in environment, and then you're throwing stuff away, and that stuff generally is toxic, particle board, MDF, which almost all cabinets in all kitchens in America have. It's that sort of particle board kind of stuff instead of real wood. All of that is toxic and off gases, and it's bad for you. So on the hill where I live in Boulder, we have a thing called Hippie Christmas, which is at the end of every single semester, all the college kids throw out their perfectly good lamps or their perfectly good rugs or their whatever, and everyone grabs all that stuff. Or the Latino community has it like down to a profession. They come through with their trucks and they just take everything, and frankly, it's awesome. That's reuse. But so much of it gets thrown away, and that's tragic. And so much of it, the MDF, the plastic, lasts forever. It may be thrown away, but there is no away. We've all heard that expression. There is no away. A wonderful field trip for children is to go to a landfill and check it out. Landfills aren't away. Landfills create tons of methane, which creates climate change, which is heating or weirding the weather where you live. It's messing up the air you and your children have to breathe. So a lot of you know all of this, so none of this is new, but let's just remember that the holy grail is backyard compostable, not compostable, like the compostable plasticky stuff. What's it called again? PLA. We've done an article on it that it's a Trojan horse for GMOs. It's almost all food. Food should be, I know this is going to be a radical notion and upset a lot of people, food should be eaten. It shouldn't become what you drink beer out of. That said, PLA is way better than plastic. So I don't think it's the enemy, but it's usually owned by huge companies like Cargill, and it's not really environmental. It's just less worse. And we are in a society where less worse is progress, right? So I can support that. But basically waxed paper cups, like, the wax paper ketchup containers that expand and all that, that people have been using since 1900, those are fantastic. You throw those in your backyard, they're gone in a week or whatever. They'll fall apart. So wax paper is great. Ideally, it's not bleached white. Anytime something's natural, like I have hemp curtains that dry off, those are just natural. They're not bleached. Bleach kills life. Bio kills life. So antibiotics, anti-life. That's literally, they're there to kind of nuke your health. Get rid of the bad stuff, get rid of the good stuff, and it kills your gut health. You've probably heard about that from your weird local yoga ponytail guy. So basically, this is the notion that if you are, say, a yoga studio owner, like some friends of ours, they bought tons of these big plastic blocks from Manduka. Every yoga company seems to sell PVC mats. PVC is evil and awful. No on vinyl, and that's final. That's from Umbra of Grist. Wonderful website, grist.org, for environmental questions. Umbra is a charming writer on Grist. No on vinyl, and that's final. I'm vegan. A lot of vegans think vinyl is great for shoes or whatever. Vinyl is evil and awful. Vinyl is like Mordor. So if you feel like a lot of this is sort of negative, let's just think about all the positive things I'm not talking about, which are like sisal rugs, jute rugs, buying anything off of Craigslist or a yard sale, organic anything, fair trade anything, supporting women's co-ops, supporting real jobs. Someone explained the difference between Amazon and craftsmanship, local crafts, as being Amazon is about getting rid of the story. So you have a thought in your mind, I would like to have some shampoo. And you click it and you get it shipped the same day from a drone or a robot, ideally in Bezos's mind. And that's what he's working toward. So literally it's delivered, you don't have to think about it. And I get that that can be convenient. But what is convenience really? Is convenience being speedy and exhausted? When you're exhausted and speedy, you need convenience. Like hamburgers? What?
McDonald's.
Like McDonald's, that's all about it. So McDonald's and a lot of fast food chains, literally it's right there in the category, fast food. You shouldn't want to rush through the best 3 moments of your day, which are often eating, and I am speaking from experience, not from a holier than thou point of view. I am a speedy eater. I have overeaten, especially nachos, for 20 years because I forget in my enthusiasm to taste anything or practically chew the first serving, and then I have to have a whole second serving so I can chill out and enjoy it. But for that serving, I'm already stuffed and full. And the key is to eat so quickly that your body doesn't realize it's full. That's kind of gross, right? It's a great way to overeat. And it tends to encourage you to buy cheap, bad food too. So, where were we? Basically, you want to support the story. So when you buy it on Amazon, everything's easy and quick. And I get that that's sexy. No, Amazon has a long history of not wanting to pay its workers well. Everything about it is a kind of humanless, storyless kind of business. And then the opposite, ironically, they bought Whole Foods, which had been very much about the story. It had been named best place to work for 10 straight years, or one of the best. And the whole idea with Whole Foods and other smaller companies particularly, Whole Foods got a lot of criticism over the years, much of which was deserved, much of which wasn't, but is supporting farmers, is supporting craftspeople. This is something Republicans, Democrats, everyone should be able to support. One of my favorite things to buy is pottery. It's well made, it's local. Don't buy pottery at your local hardware store that's been shipped in from China or whatever. That's insane. It's clay, it's heavy. Why would you ship something heavy halfway across the planet? We are in an insane capitalistic society. And as Elizabeth Warren says, I'm not anti-capitalism. I am a capitalist. I run a business. I love paying I love providing jobs, hopefully meaningful jobs for people with decent pay and benefits. But I think it's insane that in this world it's easier to get something shipped from all over the world to Vietnam and then shipped here for me to buy when I'm at home, eating my second serving of nachos on my couch and clicking on Amazon, instead of going to my local craft fair or local art co-op or local whatever. When you shop locally, you help create middle-class, stable jobs. When I go to McGuckin, my local hardware store, there's people who are 80 years old working there in green vests. They all wear green vests, and they know everything about what they're talking about. They know their section intimately. You can get free mentor advice, and you don't get that at Home Depot, and you certainly don't get that at Amazon. So the bigger you get, generally, the less story, the less well people are treated. Costco, Whole Foods, there are exceptions of relatively big businesses who treat their employees reasonably well, and I certainly want to encourage that in big businesses. But if you want to have a mindful, slow business, small business, my all-time favorite book, Small Giants, please read it. I've interviewed Bo Burlingham, the author. You want a story there. You want people to know that story, develop loyalty. It's actually good business. Be willing to pay a little bit more, and you want to be able to pay your employees well and keep them long term. Retention saves tons of money. So really, if you do things ethically and sort of slowly and meaningfully with story as a business owner or as a consumer, you can enjoy life more. And instead of me eating off of plastic plates at home, I'm eating off of beautiful pottery, whether I bought it off Craigslist for almost nothing or I bought it at a local craft fair and I made a relationship with the potter directly. Same goes for food versus McDonald's, hamburgers, which again, they have that thing where they put a burger under a glass box and they left it there for like 50 years and it looked totally the same all 50 years. That is not nature. You want nature to decompose. When I printed my book, Things I Would Like to Do With You, I didn't want a plastic coating. All books are plastic coated now, pretty much. And they said, well, it's going to fall apart. And I said, what do you mean fall apart? When is it going to fall apart? If it's read a lot, will it fall apart in 50 years, 40 years, 30 years? And they said, yeah. I said, is it going to fall apart in a year or two? And they said, no, of course, no. It'll fall apart after a lot of reading over a couple decades. And I said, that's how books should be. One of my favorite books of all time is F. Scott Fitzgerald's short stories. I literally duct taped the binding because I read it so much. Same thing with Oxford Dictionary, the mini. I had to duct tape the binding. Same thing with Training the Mind by Trunk Brimshay. The cover fell off. So you probably have a book like that, and it's cherished because you loved it to death. There's so many examples of this, but basically you want to eat food without preservatives. If you get hot sauce and you see that it has, what's that thing called? Whatever gum in it, that's a preservative. You don't want that stuff. So basically the simpler the better, cheaper, simpler, get a crock pot, get going on simple food, you're going to be happier. I think, we've been all over the map talking about furniture, or talking about health, but basically the notion today is to remember that sustainability means death is part of that life cycle of whatever that thing is, whether it's in your home or in your tummy, and that's actually healthier for you. And again, healthier is cheaper. So a lot of people say, well, being eco or all this stuff is more expensive. Not only are you going to enjoy your life more, you can buy it secondhand off Craigslist, you can buy it in bulk and put in your crock pot. My mom was dirt poor, and this is how I was raised, and that's where a lot of this comes from. I'm lucky to have that, and the more we can pass that on, the better. Michael Pollan, famously in Omnivore's Dilemma, his book, he said, basically, shop the outside of a grocery store. The inside is all stuff that you see advertised on TV that's been processed and packaged. If it's processed, packaged, and advertised on TV, avoid it. If it's on the outside, like the kale, the carrots, whatever, hopefully without plastic, get that stuff. So I think finally I'll just point out sort of the counterpoint to this, which is you don't want to get stuff that is going to fall apart right away. Fall apart not in the sense of composting, but in the sense of it's crappy, like those lawn chairs that you sit on and they break. I hate those things. I hate plastic chairs generally. Just get some good old wood. Wood decomposes over time. Anytime you see wood coated with something like a basketball floor, that's poly. Poly means plastic. If you're doing yoga in poly, yes, poly whatever, rayon, all these things, nylon, these are all plastic. All Lululemon is basically plastic. When you heat plastic, it's bad for you. Plastic is basically, I think in 20, 30 years, they're going to clearly understand that plastic is directly correlated with the rising cancer rates. The more we use plastic casually in our everyday life, we literally market sweet potatoes wrapped in plastic that you can put directly into the microwave. You're nuking plastic on your food directly. It's not great. So, craftsmanship is one of my favorite words. I've been dating this lady, Melissa. We did a podcast here. You can check that out. She makes fun of me and calls me quarter sawn or craftsmanship. She has all these random words that I'm overusing in my everyday life. Craftsmanship is one of my favorite words, or craft personship, craft womanship, craftsmanship. Basically, you want to support local people continuing age-old traditions who know their work and are creating objects of beauty and objects of function that will last your whole life. There's a section on Reddit that I love called reddit.com/r/ I think it's BIFL or it's Buy It for Life. You do want products that will last your whole life, but you don't want products that are going to last, you know, when your grandchildren have grandchildren and they have grandchildren and that plastic thing is just still sitting around in the landfill. But, you know, I have pressed back quarter sawn antique oak chairs, and they are just as rockin', no pun intended, as they were like 100 years ago. And that's kind of amazing. They put up with the butts and tummies of people sitting on them for 100 years, and they're still great. And that's craftsmanship. So the Buddha always talks about the middle way between extremes. One extreme is buying cheap stuff without a story that falls apart but never goes away truly. And the other extreme is preserving something so it never changes. Both of those extremes are bad. You want to get craftsmanship that will last and last and last, but will eventually decompose and return to the earth, that you can then plant some flowers in without pesticides so that the bees can enjoy them. So thank you so much, and remember, sustainability equals death. In a good way. And take a good posture, take a good breath, give a good breath, and give it away.